Hey, 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 everybody. Welcome back to another amazing segment of the Black Girl Encourage Her. I am Dr. Sheniqua Johnson, aka Sheniqua Inspires, and we are bringing you a special gem on this week. I hope you all are ready. I hope you have your pen, your paper, your water, and you are ready to sit and to glean all of this good information tonight's guest is going to bring. So, I could sit here and hype it up, but we're not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and bring her to the stage. Everybody, please meet Miss April Sheris. Hey, girl. Hey. Welcome.
Thank you so much for bringing me on here.
Absolutely. Welcome to the Black Girl Encourage Her. Now, I'll be honest, you all, I don't know very much about April, but we do have a mutual friend. Shout out to Lily Mae. And
Yes,
she's the
yes. Gotta
connector
love
of
Lily.
connections, right? She does the thing. So, April, please introduce yourself to me and to the audience.
Sure. I'm April Sheris. I've been the president of Upland Studios for about, 12, 14 years now. We originally launched in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, as a boutique press to help independent authors within my home state kind of fulfill a dream and get out there because we didn't really have a market or a hub for publishing down in the South. It has grown since then. Of course, we're talking about 12, 14 years later. But from a small boutique press publishing company, we have grown to now press books for the film and music industry. We also have a streaming platform where we do Upland Originals, is what it's called, and we do mini documentaries for certain projects or special projects that the film and music industry is working on. And then we also have been blessed to have a growing rooibos tea company called Upland Tea House. And that's kind of like the centerfold of our company because, of course, we work hard and we hustle every day, but we need to also have balance. And so making sure we create moments of mindfulness and intentions in our daily hustle is kind of what Upland Tea House serves. So
I like that. I like that. Now, those two are way different. Those are like oranges and apples, right? The two
yes.
of them. A matter of fact, it's probably like more like apples and pretzels. Like the two really don't. You wouldn't think of the two in the same sense. So, what brought you to this place? So, which came first? Was it the tea company or the publishing? Which came first?
Publishing came first. Yeah,
Okay.
publishing came first. I had a friend, I have a marketing and IT background, and I had a friend who was creating her faith-based version of like Avatar for her book series, and she wanted someone to help her market that project.
Mhm.
And from building my network and really learning that industry, people began to reach out to me and ask if I can help do the same for their book, but they didn't know how to get started. And because I have had friends in the industry by helping my close friend with her project, shout out Astria Legends, I was able to birth a publishing company and again help those who really had a dream kind of get the footing that they need in the industry that was non-existent in Louisiana. So publishing definitely came first. Yeah.
Okay, good. And so, why the bridge? So, I understand you mentioned people needing the mindfulness, but honestly, like what was going on with you that you went from, or not even went from one to the other, but you bridged the publishing side with the tea company? What was going on with you?
I'm glad you asked that because a lot of people don't ask that. And the truth of the matter is, I was definitely one of those people that hit the ground running. I will sleep when I'm dead. I'm gonna grind it out every day.
Mhm.
And as I got older, I wasn't really taking care of myself or realizing the importance of self care. And so I actually ended up hitting a brick wall because I didn't have that balance. I was just so focused on trying to accomplish something or maybe trying to make a name for myself that I kind of forgot about me. And being a wife and being a mother at when I was in the early stages of starting my company, these tools that I have now is something that I wish I would have started with.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because of me hitting that brick wall, I had to learn how to find my footing again and understanding that, yeah, you can hustle for a certain number of hours a day, but then you also have to pour back into yourself for a certain number of hours that day.
I
And
love it.
through my own ritual practice of setting intentions and making sure I'm being purposeful with my time and purposeful with how much I care about
Mm-hmm.
me,
Mm-hmm.
Upland Tea House was born from that. So it was like my own self-healing project,
Okay.
and then realizing that the people that I'm working with and the industries that I'm touching, they are kind of disconnected with the importance of self-care too at the
Mm-hmm.
time. And right now, I'm happy that it's a growing trend and everybody's on the self-care train. But I want to couple that with the mindfulness, making sure the mental health is attached to their self-care. So,
Absolutely. I love that. Now, let's just take a pause because I'm a big tea drinker. I've got a couple of people who watch this show and they love tea as well.
yeah.
So tell us, what is like, do you have a signature tea, or what's like your most popular tea that you have that everybody comes in and they need it?
Yeah, so definitely, I call it our OG flavor because it's the
Mhm.
one we started with. But the simplicity of it, people still gravitate to it and they love it. That's our Western Cape rooibos. Of course, if you're unfamiliar with rooibos tea, it originated in South Africa. It's more of a shrub than it is from the actual tea plant itself. But there's so many health benefits from it
Mhm.
that you can read up on it. I won't say it here on the show because it'll take up so much time. It's a rabbit hole that I love to go down, but there's so many health benefits from consuming rooibos tea. But what I gain from it the most is that it gives you an overall sense of calm, and it kind of brings peace and serenity to you hormonally. So you kind of feel at peace once you're drinking it, and you can't help but have a mindful moment and slow down.
Yeah.
But definitely, Western Cape is the original red rooibos. It's full of the honey, the caramel flavors that traditionally is associated with the red rooibos. But we actually have incorporated more of the vanilla bean flavoring into it. So you get hints of vanilla with the caramel as well.
That sounds delicious. That
Yeah.
sounds delicious. So we all got to make certain that we're staying connected to April, so we
Yes.
can hear more. We can even get, if we're in the area, we can get to it and taste it, because you're right that we do need to be
Yes.
intentional about taking that pause. Now, you did mention something, and I do want to just go back to it. You mentioned hitting the brick wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I am certain, I am certain that everybody who is watching this now, they are now reflecting back to that moment in time where they themselves hit their brick wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk to those individuals who have come up to the brick wall,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Not the ones who made it on the other side, but to those who have come up and right now
Mhm.
they are identifying that they are at a brick wall.
Mhm.
Firstly, tell us what that would look like, because many people may not even know that they've
Yeah.
hit it, right? They may not even know. So let's describe what it looks like, and what kind of encouragement would you give them to go to a next step?
Yeah, yeah. So definitely, especially when you're thinking about career and where we are
Mhm.
economically or politically in our
Mhm.
country right now, is you kind of feel lost. You
Mhm.
find kind of feel like I've been doing this certain skill or having this certain service that I'm really, really good at. I feel like I've have more growth in me, yet I'm hitting reaching a plateau. So the more
Mhm.
I pour into my craft, I don't see the progression with it. I almost sometimes feel like I'm looking at myself backtracking in it.
Mhm.
And so with that comes self-doubt. You begin to get discouraged and you lose the passion that you once had for something that you're really, really great at.
Mhm.
It also looks like trying to lean or pour more into maybe a mentor to get guidance from them. And the more that you reach out to other people and you try to implement their suggestions and their ideas, you just feel like, let me take a moment because maybe this is not my purpose anymore. So hitting a brick wall can physically mean like I cannot think and pour into my business from a mindset or from a vision standpoint, but also health wise, I'm really feeling insecure. I'm really having kind of
Mhm.
second guessing if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, because if it is, then why am I not seeing the progression that
Mm.
I used to have in the beginning?
Yes.
And for me, when I hit that brick wall, and what I try to tell people now is that think of it as a pivot, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes you do need to step away from your project just to see if the passion and the love is there. But once you
Mhm.
at least get that understanding, like, hey, I really do still love this service or this line of work. I really love being able to tap into this creative pool and pull from my creative energy. At that point, I always tell people, think beyond what you've been doing for the past 1 to 10 years, however long you've been doing, and see if there's a niche within your service where you can still fulfill or cater to your customer and client base that way. And so I kind of call that a pivot. You're not turning away from what you know and what you've grown to be really, really good at for however many years that's been. But now I'm bringing that with me and shifting it slightly so that I'm still doing what I love and catering to the people that need my service, but I'm kind of reintroducing a new skill set within that I can fall in love with it again.
Yes, I love that. I love it. And April just said segue us into where it is that I wanted the bulk of our conversation to be. You mentioned about the reinvention season. And
Yes.
so I'm
Yeah.
assuming the pivot is pivotal to that reinvention season. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I love reinvention. And I think, women do it beautifully, right? Because we can step out with new hair, a new hair color, or
Now,
short, we
yes.
go long, you know what I'm saying? We can try different colors with our wardrobe. And it's so easy for us to reinvent ourselves fashionably. And I want to take that same ideology and apply it into our life. So when you hit that brick
Mm,
wall, sit down again and say, how can I make this fun?
yeah.
I've spent so many years making this about work, but how can I make this fun? Do I
Mhm,
need to come back and rebrand myself under a new name?
mhm,
Does that look
mhm.
like me saying, hey, I'm carrying my old name, but I'm coming up with a really fun and creative way to offer a new service? And so with the client base that we have, just to use them as an example, for people in the film and the music industry, once you get past doing X amount of albums, or you have X amount of film projects under your belt, you want to think beyond just what you're currently doing and say, well, hey, how can I create usable content from a production, a movie production that I just finished, and still make it fun, right? How can I gain earned income from something that I love doing, but making it a little bit more measurable in different bite-sized pieces for other people to consume? And the same thing for music artists. I mean, don't just think, okay, I have an album and then I'm going to go on tour and then I'm going to sell merch. Every project that you put out, or every album that you put out, should have a history or storytelling component attached to it. So when you finish that album and you go on tour, let's put it in a book compilation, and now you have another leg to earn revenue from, and it's a fun industry or a lane that you haven't even tapped into yet. So that's kind of what I mean when I say reinvent yourself in fun ways and reconsidering things that you're good at, and why not make a little extra money while you're doing it.
That is great advice, and you're right. As women, especially, like men probably do it too, but we can speak from a woman's perspective,
Yeah.
And I can say this a number of times in my life. Anytime there's something significant going on, when there's
Mhm.
about to be a birthing, like a big shift, I'm about to do something new, charter, new territory. There's always a change to the hair. So I recently chopped my hair off and just started a whole new look. And I'm embracing, loving the fun in the short hair,
Yes.
playing around with different colors. So even though it's a physical transformation, it is reflective in my world. It is reflective of the way in which my life is shifting and
Yes.
shaping and pivoting, where, like you say, you hit this brick wall. And I don't want people to think that the brick wall is always, like rock bottom. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be rock bottom. Like those are two different analogies, but just getting to a place, like you said, April, like getting to a place where you feel like, okay, I am stuck. It's like when you're on a diet and
Yeah.
you've just kind of, plateaued at a certain weight, and you're like, wait a second, I've changed my diet. I'm
Yeah.
I'm exercising the way I was. Like, why is it that I'm just at this plateau? So it's really important to understand
Mhm.
what's going on in your life. And then when you come up to that brick wall, you don't have to always go crashing into it. You literally, it can just be your stop. It could be your pause to say, wait a second, let me rethink this idea.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
the business that I started. This is the project that I started. Is this still what I want to do in life? And I love the question, and I always laugh when I say this. Like, you should constantly ask yourself, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like,
Yes. Yes.
just because you spent years in college, years in a profession, doesn't mean that at this moment, at this time in your life, you need to do the same thing. So I love the conversation about that reinvention. And honestly, I recommend it. I
Yes.
recommend reinventing yourself on a regular basis. Like you said, the reinvention season, just like, spring, summer, fall, winter, we ought to go through these seasonal shifts where
Yep.
we're examining our lives and what brings us joy. So I love that. What type of advice would you give to someone? They've identified that they're at the brick wall,
Mhm.
they're ready to make a change. What about the support?
The support.
The support. What would you, because most people, they're gonna, if I'm doing the same thing. So if me and you are in the same circle, April, and we're, we've got this kindred spirit, we're doing similar things, and then now all of a sudden I'm ready for change. But you're still on your, hey, this is where we were.
Yeah.
Many people lack the support when the reinvention happens. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too, because it's a really good question. We do tell people to take that leap and reinvent themselves, and
Mhm.
then we don't supply the who, went, where, how, and why. And so
Right.
when it comes to support, I really think that at the early onset, right, of your career, I advise anyone to make sure they have a mentor, right?
Mhm.
And it's someone that's going to push you. So that would be someone who's already traveled the road that you've traveled, and then they give you a little bit of push and inspiration to keep you progressing. But when you get to the place of the pivot, if your mentor can't fulfill that need, then
Mm.
honestly, you should have a really strong tribe, or we call it network, whether that's going to be close friends, family, or professionals that you work with. And maybe that's one or two people. And I tell people all the time, reach out to them. Say, hey, I'm really at a point in my career where if I keep going another year or two like this, I don't know where I'm going to end up, and I don't know if
Mhm.
I'm going to be happy. And would you mind being an accountability partner for me? I
Mhm.
don't want to ask too much,
Mhm.
but I want to share some ideas with you. And if you see me getting off track, hold me to it. Remind me that I'm venturing away from my purpose.
Yeah.
Remind me that, hey, you know what, you're only, 2 months out from reaching this first goal. I need you to stay on track. How can I help? And a lot of times your friends or a cousin, if it's a family member, or a corporate professional that you've known for a very long time, they don't mind being accountability partner. The
Yes.
thing is that we do have to be mindful that everybody's busy, whether it's with their
Mhm.
own work and their own personal life. And so we do want to take that into consideration. So have an accountability partner that maybe you can check in with once or twice a month while you're
Mhm.
still working alongside your mentor as well.
I like that. And you said something really, really key as far as the networking, right? And
Mhm.
most people think when you go out to network, like like you're looking for clicks. Like, so if I'm a baker, I'm looking for all of the bakers, right? If I'm a dress designer, I'm looking for all of the people who are in fashion. The
Yeah.
beautiful thing about network means that you can go in and outside of what you do.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you can be a baker and connect with people who are fashion designers, because you never know how the two worlds could collide. Maybe the fashion designer
Exactly.
is going to host an event and then they're going to need a baker, right? So
Exactly.
so step
Exactly.
outside of your normal, and that's how you truly expand your
Yeah.
network, right? So
Yeah.
like we talked about the publishing company and the tea company. Like, yeah, the two don't really, you won't find them at the same function, the same convention, but
Right.
guess what? the bridge is there.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
The bridge is
You're
there.
right.
So,
The bridge is there. And we should all think like that, right? Because
mhm,
at some point, again, like you said, we should be intersecting our worlds,
mhm.
at some point, just to grow and just to see, tap into other audiences as well. But then if you have somebody that's too much in your field, then you're going to get a biased guidance. So I
Mhm.
love that.
Yeah. So it is about, and I'm a registered nurse by profession, and it is about that total well-being. And so I stepped out of like the corporate space to be in the entrepreneur space, as a coach, as a wellness professional, so that way people will look at the bigger picture. So when
Yeah.
we talk about the total well-being, we're talking about mental health, we're talking about physical health, we're talking about your spiritual health, we're talking financial health, like we're talking well-rounded universally, like all the way around.
Yeah.
If you will, April, talk to us what that reinvention season would look like for the different components of our lives. So, like, what would reinventing yourself or embracing that pivot, what would it look like in your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health? Like, paint a picture with a rainbow on it so that
Yeah.
we can see if it's worth venturing into. Like, we hear you saying this, but
Yeah.
is it worth the effort it's gonna take to get it done?
Yeah, so I would definitely say everything starts with the idea and the thought, right? So we're
Mhm,
going to start with the mindset. And I encompass the mindset with the spiritual point because I think at our core, I believe we're spiritual beings and we should be
mhm.
spiritually led first. And so for me, I'll use myself as an example. I want to remember that I can be too hard on myself because historically I have a hustle and grind it out mentality. So when I'm done and I take that hat off to tap into my spiritual side, I want to show up with gratitude, right? So I may journal all the ideas that I have just to get them out of my mind. And I'll sit and take a moment. I say, well, look, I have 5 things that I didn't do today, but I'm still grateful for everything. And so I go read off one by one and say, well, I did not complete, oh, I don't know, read market research, right? But I pour gratitude into myself because even though
Mhm.
I didn't do market research, I'm giving my mind a rest so that I
Right.
can start this bright and early tomorrow morning, right? Or so that if I get a moment at 8 o'clock at night, I can set this email on autopilot. And then tomorrow
Mhm.
morning, my morning is free now. So I just kind of pour gratitude into what I didn't accomplish because we do a lot of things in the course of the day. But
Yeah.
spiritually, we need to feed ourselves and remind us ourselves that, hey, we didn't conquer it all, but we still did a lot. And I'm grateful that you kept me and held me through the day for the things that I did accomplish. Physically, I think that you still need to get out there and attend professional events or
Mhm.
attach yourself to professional organizations within your current industry, but also one organization or one professional organization that is in a lane that you're kind of interested in. That way, you're still holding true to what you're doing,
Mhm.
and getting out, not just sitting behind the laptop or sitting on the webinar, but get out and mingle with people in real life because we get so caught up with the digital virtual world that we
Mhm.
forget that in real life is way more important. That also gets your body moving, right? Now you're actually moving and you're feeling energized and you're feeling inspired to continue to go to this booth and that booth or to shake this person's hand. And it kind of reinstills confidence, right? Because the more people you meet, you might hear that they're in a similar place as you, or they just left the lane that you're currently in, and now you can get inspiration and advice from them to make it to the other side. And of course, we all know that exercise goes a long way as well with the physical aspect. It's the best form of beating depression, honestly, is
It
to
is.
work out.
Yeah.
And then financially, before you make that pivot, be honest with yourself about where you're
Mhm.
standing with your current financial projection and your current financial forecast and say, can I afford to do this? And if
Mhm.
I can't, when? Can I do it
Mhm.
90 days out or is it going to be 9 months out? And
Mhm.
that way, if you're honest with yourself, when 90 days come, you're not feeling like, oh, I still didn't meet the mark again. Oh, when am
Mhm.
I ever going to get there? Oh, maybe this isn't for me.
Yeah.
But if you say, well, it's going to take me 9 months, then you can say, well, hey, I'm only 6 months in, girl. I got 3 more months. I'm gonna meet my target. You can kind of remind yourself that I haven't met it yet, but I know I have a target and I know I have an end goal, right? And I'm financially working to support that once I get to that 9 month mark or
Mhm.
whatever it is. So yeah, that's kind of how I look at it.
I love that. And actually you kind of touched a little bit upon the next question that I had for you is what if it doesn't work? Because people like to know all of these what if scenarios. That's what they do. They go through all of these and what if and what if and
Yeah,
what if and what if while they're before they even take the step, before they even verbalize that they need to take the step. So let's just hash this out with them. And again, you touched upon it a little bit, but what if it doesn't work? Like,
yeah, yeah. And
where do you
sometimes it
go?
doesn't, right? And the
Yeah.
honest to God truth is, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Really, we have so many ideas as creatives and as entrepreneurs, and we can only tap into one or two at a time to really give it the attention we need. And as you read more and more about people who are millionaires and billionaires, they made many mistakes. They had many failures and they kept going because that's just a part of life. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't fail in business, you may fail personally. If you don't fail personally, it may be in your professional or corporate if
Mm-hmm.
you're still holding down a 9 to 5. And so failure is a part of success, and we have to look at it as being okay. And that just means we're one step closer to reaching the goal of success that we really want. If you don't make it in this particular idea, I'm sure you have hundreds more, and the world is still anxious to hear them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That was encouraging, right? Because sometimes life is life and it doesn't work out
Mhm.
or it takes longer. And so
Mhm.
like you mentioned before, like we set these goals and maybe this idea is so impactful, it's going to take a lot more time. And so
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
it's like a test of our consistency, it's a test of our commitment. So understanding the need as to why it's time for you to reinvent yourself is the thing that you should always circle back to say, I'm doing this because I was literally at a brick wall.
Yeah.
And I'm, as a coach, I love if people write everything out, like write what it looks like when you were at that brick wall,
Yes. Yes. I'm
right?
a big person. I love writing it out. I have
Yeah.
to write it out to lock it in my mind. I have to write it out and read it so that I can
Mhm.
visually see it. So yeah, I'm big on journaling everything. And then when you meet it, you can go back and see how primitive it was and how you took
Mhm.
something that was just a thought and you've grown it into something so beautiful. So I'm glad you said that. I am huge on writing everything out.
Yeah. All right. So let's go with that. Tell us what else does April Sheris do as she is reinventing herself? So you're writing stuff down. You mentioned to us about the journaling. We know you're sipping your tea, right? You
Yes.
get a little mindful relaxation and you're sipping your tea. What are some other things that you do to support yourself as you are going through your reinvention season?
Yeah. I am huge on alternative medicine, right? Because as women, as we get older, we go through different phases, hormonally, we're going through different phases. And
Yeah.
that's something that I feel I notice we're kind of not making that a taboo topic when we're talking about perimenopause and going into
Mhm.
menopausal phases, but we need some support in addition to the mindset and the working out. I found that the more I worked out, then I'm having cortisol spikes and now I need help on the other end. And so what my alternative healing looks like is I believe in red light therapy religiously. There's so many benefits to help with inflammation with red light therapy. It makes your skin glow. It's like an instant facial sometimes, depending
Okay.
on how often you're doing it. I also believe in cryotherapy. I've heard some really great news about going from hot to cold within the body.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, hey, let me try it out. And I've seen really good success with that.
Wow.
Sometimes just to make sure my immune system is up, I'm also doing IV drip. And I know some people, I have friends, they're like, does that really work? But I'm like, depending on what your body needs, it absolutely works. It's amazing how I can go in feeling and by the time that I'm done with the IV drip, I feel like a whole new woman. I feel like a teen. Oh, well, I'm not gonna say teenager. Let me say 20-year-old again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe in alternative therapies, and I really want that to be a conversation that we get around
Mhm.
to talking and feeling comfortable with, because it's okay to do the ultra sauna. It's okay to do red light therapy. It's okay to pour into yourself with the cryo chamber and cryotherapy. So yeah, I'm really big on making sure that I feed the body or at a cellular level if possible.
I
I
like
do a
that.
lot of meditation work. I have
Okay.
these crystal sound healing bowls that I'm sure I've
Mhm.
driven my children crazy with over the year because I play them really loud.
Okay.
But the vibration that you can play these sound healing bowls at, it speaks to the different chakras in the body, and surprisingly, you come out of that feeling more aligned as well.
Mhm.
I also believe in acupuncture. Sometimes life gets hard and life gets challenging. We're in an economic and political climate right now that has
Mhm.
everyone feeling a little anxious and a little unsure. And so, for me, acupuncture just really balances all my energies out when I'm feeling a little wound up. And I believe that once you allow the body to be at a state of harmony, it can heal and do what it needs to do for itself too. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
doing a lot, girl.
Listen, I hear you, and I ain't mad at it at all. I love that for you, and I really want other. And I'm glad you said it, because these are some things many people might have just heard in passing,
Mhm.
but automatically shut it down. Oh, I don't
Yeah.
need this. I don't need this. But my question to everybody who's watching is, like, when do you know it's time to make that shift? It's time to take this to the next level. Like, what has to happen in order for you to say it's time for me to pivot, it's time for me to reinvent myself? And it's the same thing with the practices that we do. So if you're eating the same thing, if when you're trying to lose weight all you eat is lettuce and drink water, and then you hit that, because you can come to a brick wall
Right.
on a diet where you're like, well, I'm not losing as much as I used to in the beginning. What has to happen? Do you have to pass out? Do you have to fall over? Like, what has to occur for you to say, you know what? Let me research something else. Let
Yeah.
me look at an alternative to just eating lettuce and drinking water. Like, what else could I do? Could I do Atkins? Could I do, protein? Like what else can you do? So I'm so glad that you mentioned some of those alternative therapies so that people start to hear it. And like you said, normalize it in a point of conversation
Yeah.
so we can have discussions. It's not saying that, we're sending everybody to go and do it, but it's like, can we at least talk about it? Can we
Yes.
hear some of the
Yeah.
pros and cons, right? So we can be informed consumers. If we're going to pivot, can we be well informed and thorough? And if you have questions about something, you can
Yeah.
say, oh, I remember having the conversation with April. Let me go to April and let me ask her. Oh, I remember Sheniqua said this. Let me go to Sheniqua and ask her this. So this way you get the information that you need. But I'm
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
firm believer everybody has to do what's best for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
my question still remains true. What is it going to take for you to pivot?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It doesn't mean rock bottom. Doesn't mean you got to get terminated from your job before you start thinking about starting your business.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to, go through a divorce before you start investigating self-love and the
Yeah.
importance and benefits of that. Like, do we have to always go down to the pit before we reach the palace?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, can we just talk about the palace
Yeah.
and have
Yeah.
palace like conversations so that I can avoid the pit and just go straight there? Like, that's my option. I would choose that over having to go into the pit, having to hit rock bottom. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I agree. And I find that now a lot of people, like you say, they are reaching rock bottom. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if it's because they're still, at least within our tribe of women, if we're still kind of gatekeeping information.
Mm-hmm.
I know
Mm-hmm.
that now I got into acupuncture because on a Facebook group, someone mentioned that they went to acupuncture, and they were like, "Oh, well, what benefits did you see?" And those benefits that she was experiencing was problems that I was experiencing. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think the more that we speak at every level of our life,
Yeah.
so we're not gatekeeping information,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully it will help people before they hit rock bottom. I would like to also hope that right now, because, and I keep mentioning the political climate that we're in now, we cannot afford to wait until we hit rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
We should be thinking about these ways to expand our current skill set or service, so
Yes.
that if the inevitable happens, you
Yeah.
have something to fall back on. So I'm hoping that people are waking up to the idea that, oh man, if I wait till I hit rock bottom, I might
Mm-hmm.
can't come up
Mm-hmm.
as fast as I would have before. But that's a really good question. What
Yeah.
will it take? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with you. And that just kind of like hit my spirit. It's like, not to be all up in everybody's faces, like do it, do it, do it. But, it is about preparation. How are you prepared? Right. Like
Yeah.
if all of a sudden, and this is happening, we see this a lot in the government sector where people are
Yeah.
being terminated, they are getting laid off. Like we've seen this on a regular basis. Like, so this is not brand new to us. So what's the game plan what's the alternative game plan? Like, what's the next step if this happens? It's like preparing with like life insurance, preparing with health insurance. Like, what's the next step? I'm not sick right now,
Yeah.
but I kind of need this policy set up for in the event if I do get sick, I'm taken care of. And so planning the reinvention, whether you are jumping into it or not, but it's the planning, it's the preparation for the pivot where you start gathering information, you
Yeah.
start networking, you start listening to different topics of conversation. I mean, my goodness, like you got to be tired of talking about the same old, same old.
Yeah.
Like, are we
Yeah.
tired of following what Beyonce is doing and who she doing it with? And like, really, like,
Yeah.
can we have some other topics of conversations,
Yeah.
like perimenopause and menopause?
Yeah.
Can we, like you said, April, like, can we stop gatekeeping the information and
Yeah.
can we start having beneficial and useful conversations?
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful that you showed up today to talk to us about the reinvention, because whether or not somebody is approaching their season or just preparing for the what if I have to start a new job at 50? What if I have to think of a plan B when I get terminated or when the money dries up on this stream? Like, so if this is just a conversation to prepare people for their reinvention season, well, I'm glad we had it,
Yeah.
because it is definitely a topic that we have to talk about more so that we can get our information and then we don't feel like we're starting from square one. We have a kind of steps ahead. We've got the information to go forward. So thank you for stopping by.
Yeah.
Let me get your social media handles going so you
Yeah.
all can stay connected with April Sheris. She's got uplandstudios.com and she is on social media. So y'all better go find her, as I know I am. I'm going to
Yeah.
find and follow, find and follow. She's on
Yeah, follow for
Facebook.
follow. And if you believe you have a question that I can answer, please don't
Yes,
hesitate to reach out, send me a DM. I feel like we all in this together. So
that's
let's,
right.
let's just stay connected.
I love it. April, do you have any more words of encouragement or anything else you want to share? I want to make certain you empty before you leave here. Anything else you'd like to share in your heart with us?
Yeah, yeah. It's just one more thing that came to me at the latter part of what you were speaking about earlier. What is it going to take? And one of the
Mhm.
things that I really want to speak to also today is, let's try to hold ourselves accountable with being
Mm,
more disciplined in our lives.
mhm,
And if that means staying off of social media for 3 hours extra every day,
yeah,
making sure that you don't touch that phone until you write in your journal, if you're a spiritual person, until you pray,
yes,
if you like to work out, until you do whatever it is that you need to fulfill your cup to start the day.
mhm,
Don't touch the phone. I think the less we can utilize the technology and being connected or tethered to the virtual world at the start and end of our day, I think it'll make us a lot more better personally, and we can show up in the world more better. And also with that discipline, remember that anything that you do, it doesn't have to end. It can be a pause, and that's what reinvention is. It's just taking a pause while you really figure out the next step, which foot you're going to put forward next. And so let's just get a little bit more self-discipline so we can reach those goals a little bit more quicker.
I love it. I love it. You guys make certain you are following, you are liking, you are connecting with April Sheris. So this way you have the information. We always want to keep this encouragement going. You all make certain that you are you're paying attention to the nuggets, even if you got to listen to this over and over again, and you're feeding your soul and your mind with information. And so you have a strategic plan for whenever your reinvention season is upon you, right? April, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Hang out for just a second. Let me give the people their marching orders. That was so good. I hope you all were taking notes because listen, you have to be prepared. You never know when the time is going to come that you're going to have to pivot. And like April Sheris says, poured into us today, you got to have the discipline. And if you can't even discipline yourself to sit still and get this information, I don't know what you're going to do when the reinvention season comes upon you. So we want to make certain that you are ready. Make sure you hit the like button. You share this message out with everyone you know, because we're not gatekeeping information no more, ladies. We are passing it on. So hit the share button. Tell your friends, tell them to watch, and make certain that you are subscribed to this channel so you don't miss a moment of the encouragement, the inspiration, and the empowerment that goes on. So until next time, I will see you all again soon on the Black Girl Encourage Her.